The question is simple. Can Donald Trump serve a third term as President of the United States? The answer, at first glance, appears to be a definitive no. But in the complex, often theatrical world of American politics and constitutional law, no is rarely the final word. Talk of a third term, even non-consecutive ones, is one of the most persistent, controversial rumors in modern politics. It forces us to confront a vital piece of the U.S. Constitution, the 22nd Amendment, a law born out of crisis and tradition that now faces a new era of legal creativity. To understand if a third term is possible, we must dig deep into the amendment's original intent, its explicit language, and the debated loopholes that some political allies claim to have found. The full story isn't just about a politician. It's about the very limitations placed on power in American democracy. The ironclad rule, what the 22nd Amendment says. The primary and most critical barrier is the 22nd Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which was ratified in 1951 following President Franklin D. Roosevelt's unprecedented 4 election victories. The amendment's language is notably direct. It states, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice." This provision is the bedrock of the 2-term limit. Donald Trump has already been elected president twice, in 2016 and, assuming the current context, in a hypothetical second election. Therefore, according to plain text of the 22nd Amendment, he is constitutionally ineligible to be a candidate for and win a third presidential election. The rule applies regardless of whether the terms are consecutive or non-consecutive, which is why Grover Cleveland, who served non-consecutive terms, did not trigger the amendment. It wasn't in place then, but would be barred today after his second election. This much is non-negotiable under current law. The loopholes, vice president and succession theories. Despite the clear constitutional bar on being elected a third time, some legal commentators and political strategists have explored highly unusual, purely theoretical paths for a former 2-term president to serve a third term. These theories hinge on the difference between being elected to the presidency and succeeding to the presidency. The first major theory involves the vice presidency. Could a former 2-term president run as a vice presidential candidate? If successful, the former president would then be the vice president. If the elected president were to resign, pass away, or be removed from office, the vice president would ascend to the presidency via the Presidential Succession Act. This would allow a twice-elected person to serve a third term without being elected to it. However, this theory faces a significant constitutional hurdle, the 12th Amendment. It dictates that no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. While the 22nd Amendment only bars a person from being elected president more than twice, the intent of the 12th Amendment is widely interpreted by legal scholars to prevent someone from using the vice presidency as an end run around the presidential eligibility requirements. The prevailing legal consensus is that if a person cannot be elected president, they cannot be elected vice president. The Speaker of the House scenario. The second, even more remote theory involves the Speaker of the House. If the sitting president and the vice president were both unable to serve, the next in the line of succession under the Presidential Succession Act of 1947 is the Speaker of the House. Since a person does not constitutionally need to be an elected member of the House to be chosen as Speaker, the former president could theoretically be appointed to the role. If both the president and vice president then vacated their offices, the former president, as Speaker, will become the acting president. While the 22nd Amendment does not explicitly prevent this non-elected route to acting as president, it is an unprecedented, highly theoretical situation that would almost certainly face an immediate, decisive challenge in the Supreme Court, which would likely rule against violating the amendment's spear. Amending the Constitution, the only legal path. In the final analysis, the only entirely legal and non-debatable way for any twice-elected president to serve a third term is to repeal or modify the 22nd Amendment itself. To do this requires a monumental, consensus-driven effort. A 2/3 vote in both the House and the Senate, followed by ratification by 3/4 38 of the individual states. In today's deeply polarized political climate, achieving this level of bipartisan, nationwide agreement is functionally impossible. The law stands as a clear, high wall, making the prospect of a third presidential term via an election an explicit constitutional impossibility.